Hey, this is Jay.
And this is Chelsea.
Welcome to the Shifting Perceptions podcast.
We are bringing you inspiration to live a more creative lifestyle because our favorite people are the ones that choose the path less traveled. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 37th episode of the Shifting Perceptions podcast. This is Chelsea. This week, we sat down with American financier and entrepreneur Marc Bell, whose innovative and fearless approach to life has led him to many business successes. Marc founded his first company, Globix, at the age of 21, and now, over 30 years later, his investment firm is involved in more than 160 companies worldwide. We chatted to Marc about his early fascination with computers, how ADD impacted his schooling, and why he started his working career as a janitor. So how does a man who doesn't really have any interest in Broadway become one of Broadway's most successful producers and the winner of 2 Tony Awards? Marc's warmth and self-deprecating humor emanate when he explains to us that through all of his successes, he has also encountered some stumbling blocks along the way. Ever humble and full of gratitude, Marc and his wife are actively involved in many philanthropic causes and even welcomed over 70 children into their home after they were displaced by Hurricane Irma. Over the course of 72 hours, Marc and his neighbors served 800 meals, did 36 loads of laundry, arranged for over 80 much-needed baths and showers, as well as finding the time to celebrate 4 birthdays and a visit from the Tooth Fairy. This story of selfless giving is genuinely inspiring and describes just one aspect of the multifaceted and wonderfully kind man behind some of the most innovative companies in the world. This interview was surprising, and we had a lot of fun with it, so let us know what you think.
Hello, everyone. Jay Alders here. A couple quick things. Chelsea has an event going on June 30th. She will be at Bradley Brew Project for launching her new nonprofit foundation, Roots and Wings. Their mission is to create a safe community and provide postpartum support for women struggling in the 4th trimester. You can get information on that event and also on Chelsea's birth doula services on ommamasdoulas.com. And I have an event coming up July 21st, which is a Sunday. I will be at Asbury Park's Convention Hall for the Asbury Park Bazaar. You can come over there, say hi to me, come check out the art prints and apparel and merch. And if you're not local to New Jersey, Jersey Shore person, you can actually save $5 from now through the end of June on apparel on my website, jalders.com. All you have to do is use the code JUNEGEAR5. That's JUNEGEAR5. Use that code at checkout, and you'll get $5 off most shirts, hoodies, and apparel. And if you're not driving, please make sure you check in with us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. And stick around until the end. We have some rather humorous commentary at the end of the show from Chelsea and I just babbling away.
Let's jump in.
Hey, Marc. Thanks for joining us. We really, really appreciate you making the time for us. We're excited to chat.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Marc, so there's so much to dive into. I think a logical spot that I'm genuinely curious about to dive into is your childhood, as much as you can tell us. I'm really curious what your childhood looked like, what maybe some childhood heroes, some visions that you had as a kid. I know a lot of your career originated back to when in your teen years when you were into computers, but what did Marc's life look like before that?
I was born in Brooklyn. I don't know how far back you want to go.
Yeah, that's cool. I was made in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I was a son of my dad was an attorney. My mom was a school teacher. We grew up in Brooklyn. Eventually, my dad got ill when I was about 10. We ended up moving to Westchester, to a place without steps. We had I got introduced to computers in middle school. So my first sort of TRS-80, Model 1, and a Commodore PET, and immediately became addicted to computers.
Was that around early 80s, 81-ish?
Actually, we're now in the 70s.
70s, okay.
A little bit.
My first introduction to computers was the Commodore VIC-20 and the Timex Sinclair, so that's a little bit after this.
Oh, I love the Timex Sinclair. It was so tiny and so small and such a great idea.
Yeah, it was great to learn BASIC on. It was cool at the time, for sure.
Yeah, it was very cool. So I got very lucky, and I got a job when I was a freshman in high school. I went the first Apple computer store opened on the East Coast. It was called All Things Computer, and it was run by a guy named William T. Fairbairn III. He was the former head of marketing for the personal computer project at IBM, and he left hoping he would be the first IBM retailer. IBM was so upset that he left, they said, no way. And this is in like September of 81, I think.
Okay.
And he went ahead and met with Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak and said, well, I have a store opening. I need a computer to sell. And so he became the first Apple dealer, I believe, on the East Coast. They had, there's only one job I qualified for, and it was janitor. And I was dying to work there, so I took the job as janitor. So for a couple of years, I cleaned bathrooms, I vacuumed, I mopped, I put things away. And there's a story later on I'll tell you about. Okay. But I was very, I just wanted to be there. And over time, they realized that I knew probably more about computers than anybody else sitting in there. Yeah. I knew how to program.
And where did you learn that? You were self-taught?
What?
Were you self-taught?
Self-taught. I just spent lots of time in the computer lab. When I was in middle school, I was trying to write a version of Space Invaders for the TRS-80, and I was on a mission to figure it out. And I learned how to code. And then I learned that there's only so much memory in the machines, and I kept running out of memory. So I learned how to make code more efficient. And then I learned, this is back in the 80s, early 80s, you used to repair Apples. This is the Apple II. And you used to repair them actually in the stores. You would do soldering, and I learned how to solder, and I learned how to put motherboards together, and learned how to actually repair things, which gave me a great foundation. Yeah. Then I was 16 years old. My dad had a client his name was Barry Yampel. He had a company called Graphic Scanning, which ended up becoming Metro Media Paging, I believe. And my dad invited me I had a day off from school to come out to this guy's office, and he had a data center, I'd never seen a data center before. And the whole data center is probably 10 feet by 10 feet. And that was the data center. And in the corner was this little, half the site, like a mini fridge, and that was CompuServe.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And that point in time, and this is now 1983, I decided I want to build data centers for a living. Because I just thought the raised floor and the pressurized air, I just thought it was really cool.
Wow. So did you skip over the whole BBS thing that was?
BBS. Oh, so unintentionally. So it started. I got my first for when I started high school. For my birthday, my dad got me an Apple II computer.
Yeah.
And I wrote with two buddies of mine. We wrote a software called Camelot BBS, and it was one of the first BBS packages for the Apple II computer. And it was awesome. And
I seem to remember that, actually.
What?
That sounds familiar. Might I have heard about that?
Well, if you were back then, we had one called Sir Lancelot's Castle, one called Merlin's Tower, and one called Camelot. And there were great communities of people who would dial into these things and participate in online forums and send mail and play games. And it was really just awesome as we kept adding things and we kept inventing things, such as like the word wrap. No one had done that yet. And so when you typed a word, it went to the next line if you weren't finished. So we were early innovators. And my father then, when I finished high school, told me there's no future to computers. I should become a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant. And the joke was on him because he was a lawyer and an accountant, and he ended up working for me.
That's awesome.
So we went ahead. So I studied accounting undergrad at Babson College, went to NYU, got my master's in real estate development because my dad was a real estate lawyer. And stock market had just collapsed. Now we're talking like 1988, 89. And so I went ahead and couldn't get a job. Wanted to work on Wall Street, accounting firm, there were no jobs. So I told my father I was going to go play with computers because that's what I knew.
Yeah. And
I started out building a desktop publishing system. And it was, we ended up doing most of the ethnic newspapers in New York. And then we started doing magazines. So a lot of people wanted to do what was all these magazines were on big mainframes. So they wanted to go from Atex, which is what the main firms are called, to Macintosh, to desktop publishing. So we did all the magazines over Time Warner, like Time Inc., People Magazine, Sports Illustrated, Entertainment Weekly. We did, I couldn't even remember all the places that we touched. And then we had a few lucky breaks. There was a startup ad agency called, what was it called now? It'll come to me. And they got a new account for a new vodka company called Absolute Vodka.
Okay. Oh,
and they wanted to do cool things. And so we sold them some Macs and showed them how to use software, I don't know what it was called at the time, but Photoshop-like programs to create cool images. And that's where the original Absolute ads came from. I think it was TBWA advertising. I'm pretty that's what it was.
Okay.
And then we went all of a sudden now every ad agency on Madison Avenue had to have the system so they could do cool ads. Then we got lucky with HarperCollins. HarperCollins wanted to reduce their costs, and a new type of printer had come out that could do high resolution printing called LaserMax, and which would do 1,000 dpi, and went ahead and got HarperCollins, and then all of a sudden I got every other book publisher in New York City, and it grew and grew. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to know if I could interrupt you for a second. I'm wondering, so what did the desktop publishing business look like? Were you creating like a version of like PageMaker or Quark, or like was it proprietary software to do something? We
were using PageMaker. We used PageMaker, and then later on we used Quark.
Okay.
Your memory's better than mine. We were using PageMaker at first, in the very beginning, and then we were using Quark, and then Quark Publishing Systems, QPS. We had. And the business exploded. We were selling, enormous amounts of Macs per week. We became the largest Apple VAR in New York City. We created a service depot for repairing them. And that was, we had, I don't know how many people, a lot, that would go out every day and fix Macs in the field or fix them in our depot. We had a big parts depot from Apple where we had every spare part on hand. And then what happened is people started asking us about multimedia and 3D animation. And so we started getting into more sophisticated computers, selling silicon graphics and selling alias wavefront and building 3D animation systems. And at night, we would sit around the office all night, I should say. And, I would take a break and we started playing video games over the network. And we played a game called Marathon. It's probably everyone's favorite. And then Unreal Tournament. And Apple didn't use Ethernet back then. It used something called Apple Talk Remote Access.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we found a group of guys in Australia, I think it was, who had figured out how to encapsulate Apple Talk Remote Access over TCP/IP. So all of a sudden, you could play Apple games over Ethernet. And so we started a company called GameNet. And it was the first online game playing service for the Macintosh computer. We did it on a dial-up network, and we hosted our servers over at a company called MFS. And after being there a couple months, they lost power to the AC system, and all of our stuff melted, cost us like $100,000. I was devastated. And they come and they sit with us and they show us blueprints how this will never happen again, and they don't want to lose our business. And I told them that it's not going to work. I mean, the son of a real estate lawyer and a real estate developer, I could read blueprints. I was like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're a kid, you're an idiot. And 7 days later, they blew it all out again. And I said, we could build a better data center, and we could do this. We could build a better network. And we started a company called PFM Communications, which is our internet provider. And we built our first data center, which was a tiny little thing. And we started doing it ourselves. And then we got some work from Microsoft came to us. And we knew some people there, and they were trying to finish a product called NetShow, which is today Windows Media Player. And they offered us we helped them finish their product. They offered us a hosting contract for Microsoft. But back then, this is for, I think, MSNBC servers, and they fit in a closet. I mean, it was very small. But with Microsoft as a client, it was like the gold standard back then.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was huge plus, and we went out and raised some money and started building big data centers. And about half the Fortune 50 at one time hosted with us. And we were very lucky that we had built, and we started building, and we started using other people's internet access, but it was very slow. And I'm like, we could do better at this. So we started buying fiber. And long story short, we ended up with 28,000 miles of fiber around the world.
Wow.
And a million square feet of data centers in no time, and millions more under construction.
Oh my gosh.
And it was, we took it public. It was, it did very well. I left in March of 2000, decided that it was time to go do other things. I was there 10 years.
And it was bigger than Apple at the time, wasn't it? When you cashed out, wasn't it like bigger than Apple at the time?
There was a joke at one time we could have bought Apple. I think we could have bought Apple and Xerox with money left over. That was the joke at one time.
Could you imagine?
And we should have done that.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
That was the joke.
Yeah.
We had a. I mean, now compared to today's market caps, we were nothing, but back then it was huge.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we went on and we got lucky and started doing other investing and building other companies, and we went and started getting into hospitality, got into Broadway.
Can I pause you for a second, Mark?
What?
Can I pause you before we go on? Just I don't want to change topics
Sorry.
because you've blown me away already with the story.
We have a lot to cover right
so
now.
I'm trying to find the missing piece between you being a 16-year-old janitor and not finding a job on Wall Street and playing with computers to what you just described. Now, everyone that's an entrepreneur or reads about entrepreneurs or has tried anything knows that there's success comes from like a bazillion variables that have to line up in just the right way in order to work. Do you remember those first moments when you went from like that kid that couldn't find a job on Wall Street to playing with computers to all of a sudden now you're working with HarperCollins and Microsoft? Like, what were those first moments like?
It was. I as a kid, I didn't appreciate it all. As an adult, I looked back and I really didn't grasp at the time what I was doing in terms of the magnitude of what I was building.
Yeah.
So it was very much. I didn't. I was very focused on just, what I was doing every day and didn't focus on, the significance of some of the stuff we created. And I had some, great moments over the years, which, so for example, the janitor story was important. We had at Globix, we probably had 1,000 people working on a New York office. And, we had but my friends will tell you from, elementary school and high school, I'm the same kid I was back then, just slightly more eccentric. But one day I'm sitting there. So I was in one of the restrooms in my building. We owned a lot of buildings in New York. It was in one of the buildings, and one of the janitors went to the bathroom, and there was a janitor who I guess was his first day on the job. He had no idea what he was doing. So I got on my hands and knees, and I showed him how to clean a toilet. And so 3 guys walk in, and they walk in, and they look at me, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Three senior executives.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I'm showing him how to clean a toilet." They're like, "But you shouldn't be doing that." And I go, "Why not? He needs to learn. Somebody didn't teach him. This is how you do." And he's like, "But you're above that." I go, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "But you're above cleaning bathrooms." I'm like, "I don't understand." And I knew what they meant, but I was trying to give them some leeway. And they're like, they were pushing, and I was like, I said, "Guys, we're all the same.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the day, we're all made the same. We put our pants on the same way. We eat the same way. We're all the same. It doesn't matter where we come from or what opportunities we had or didn't have in life, but we're all the same." And in order to help you understand that, I want you to help for the rest of the day to go out and help this gentleman, whose name I don't remember, clean every bathroom in the building.
Oh my gosh.
And then tonight I'm going to pick a bathroom, and I'm going to buy Chinese food. We were in Chinatown, and I'm going to dump it on the floor, and we're going to have dinner.
Oh my God! Yes.
And they thought I was kidding, and they said, "I'm not doing that." And I said, "That's fine. I want the three of you to go over to Human Resources now and tell them that today was your last day."
Oh my God!
And they're like, "Are you joking?" I said, "No." I said, "Either everyone here is going to treat each other with respect, or not be here at all. There's no one better than anybody else in my place." And literally, they cleaned every bathroom in the building in their suits and ties. And then I bought lo mein and egg foo young. I remember eating egg foo young, and we ate dinner on the floor in the bathroom.
Oh my God!
And it was the whole building found out about it, and people were much nicer to each other going forward.
I bet. Well, so I feel like you're bringing up a really cool topic, Mark, that I was thinking about as you were telling your story, and that like when you read like the Steve Jobs story and all these stories from that chapter, there's so much that came from you guys tinkering with toys, right? Like actually getting into the back of a computer and really understanding technology at a completely fundamental level. Whereas I'm not sure that that's happening as much anymore as we're moving forward with technology. Do you see that?
I think it's difficult nowadays with millennials. I think it's different values. It's different. People are just, I don't know how to explain it, but, I have people feel like, they're entitled much more than when I was a kid. People feel that everyone's going to start the next Facebook. Everyone, and I try to explain to people, statistically speaking, you have a better chance of getting hit by lightning, pointing that out, than starting the next Facebook. But, people start a lot of companies without caring about, are they going to make money? People, the whole making money thing is irrelevant. It's that starting something. I'm like, no, actually, it's about making money. It's about being profitable. And they don't want to work very hard, and they want to spend a lot of time with the barista, and they think you have a lot of companies that have gotten successful, but many more have failed. And but I think it's just it's just a different value system today. And you look at what's going on in the world politically, and half the people in this country hate the other half of those people. But then you go. I just spent 3 weeks in the Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves the government. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
They have a minister of tolerance. They have a minister of happiness. They have a minister of youth. You can't find one person in the country who isn't happy with the government, because they take care of it. They do it, and it's not about money. It's about attitude.
Yeah.
There's no here. You automatically hate the other party in office. You automatically, everything is, people. It's hard to, I had this group of discussion with people, a bunch of millennials, a bunch of kids, a couple of weeks ago. We're talking about the hashtag Me Too movement.
Mm-hmm.
And they're being, they were talking about people who've been accused but not charged. And I said, well, and they were very angry at these people. I said, well, if they're not, the court of public opinion has found them guilty, but the constitutional court of law hasn't. And I said, so if you're saying that these people should be, vilified, and, yes, they did something wrong. Absolutely. Should they be punished if it's found they did something wrong? Absolutely. But let a court figure it out,
right.
Not public opinion. And TV doesn't help nowadays. And I said, you go ahead. I said, what about George Washington? He was a slave owner. Do we take his picture out of the White House? That's
right.
More egregious than somebody telling a girl, something inappropriate.
Yeah, like if people were Instagramming him.
You take his picture off the dollar bill.
Yeah.
and they're like, I'm like, you know what? You need to understand it's a bigger picture in life.
Yeah.
And they're very focused on, social issues, not larger global issues, which is unfortunate. Because there's tons of global issues out there. It's like I watch these guys putting up satellites now to do internet access in Africa, which is fabulous. It's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception, first, they need electricity. Mm-hmm. Then they need water. Then they need literacy. Then they need homes. And then they need a computer.
Yeah.
But until you solve the other problems first, they're not going to care so much about internet access.
And malaria nets.
About people like Charity Water, who do a spectacular job, are building 20,000 wells. They have the right idea.
Right. Yeah, like starting with what's needed. Well, it's interesting too, like even just the
Sorry, I
talk.
didn't mean to go to tangent there.
No, I love it.
We like tangents.
I like tangents, and it's interesting to see where you are and what you're working on right now too. But I also just picture, the child of a lawyer today taking a job as a janitor in New York. You just like wouldn't see it happen, right? Like, isn't that like where it all starts? It's like, okay, what's the value of $1 and how are we going to make money? Like, I remember getting a job at like a podiatrist when I was, 14, because I was like, I'm going to get $7 an hour. This is amazing. And that just doesn't happen anymore, I don't think, as much.
It's hard. I mean, when I was a kid, 1 every 4 people at that time had worked at a McDonald's in the United States. But now, if I were to tell my kids they're going to go be janitors, they'd look at me like I've got 2 heads.
Yeah.
And they're doing great things. I can't complain. So they're doing the right things in life. But I still, they are. It's hard nowadays.
Yeah.
Because the kids around them, it's hard, and the TV doesn't help.
Yeah, social media, the pressure, everything is just like is leveling up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how you have found, or if you have found a balance, because in reading your bio and kind of diving into a rabbit hole of Marc Bell, like there's some articles talking about, or in the early days you worked like over 100 hours a week, and right now obviously you're reiterating your work ethic. How do you balance that passion of work with passion of just enjoying life and being with family or in the present moment? Is that something that has been easy or hard for you to kind of find the balance for?
No, I worked for 10 years. I worked 120 hours. Then I took 2 years off and did nothing, and was going to blow my brains out.
Yeah.
And then I went back to work. And some people have hobbies. I don't have any hobbies. I work. That's my hobby. That's my passion, and I like what I do. So I can't complain. But I'm very lucky and blessed that I've been successful, and lucky that I'm able to do what I want to do, and lucky that I try to involve my family as much as possible. So my wife and I, for example, work together. We've only spent 1 night apart since we met. She travels with me everywhere. We've got desks across from each other.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. That's how we stay connected. And I try to involve my kids as much as possible in different projects.
So how old are your kids now, Marc?
I have twin 18-year-olds and a 21-year-old.
Oh, we have twins, and their daughter's 17 months older than our twin boys, but they're 4 and 5 right now. So are we going to make it? Are we going to survive till they're 18?
How many girls do you have?
So we have 1 daughter, and then our boys are twins.
Okay, you're lucky.
Yeah.
Good. Tell. Well, the girls. I love my daughter. She's a lot, but my boys are easy.
Yeah.
Speaking of kids, Marc, we're like going through like the I don't know. I don't want to say the word struggle, but we're going through the decision and figuring out part of schooling. And I was interested when I read in your bio about how poorly you did in school, and how you kind of like pointed a finger at, which I totally get, like how structured the environment of public school is and how it didn't fit your style. And me as an artist and a former computer nerd, like I get that. Like I felt like I wasn't really challenged in school, and I wasn't the kind of kid that could just stay put in one desk and do something and for a certain increment. And it felt very constricting. I'm wondering how that has affected you as far as education, whether it's your family or whether you are involved in any kind of, reforming of any school of any sort. Has that affected you in your actions in any way?
When I was in school, I have ADD. But not ADHD, just ADD.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, there was no term for it, so they just thought I was an idiot. So they put me in classes for idiots, and it was okay. And I barely graduated high school, and it was funny because my high school guidance counselor told me I should go to Westchester Community College and get my act together. And then, unbeknownst to her, a decade later, she's sitting in an auditorium for one of my annual shareholders meetings, and my mother sits down next to her, unbeknownst to her, and she turns to her and she goes, "Dean Diamond," and she goes, "Yes." And the Dean Diamond goes, "Is that Marc up there on stage?" And she goes, "Yes." And she goes, "Huh, who knew?" And and then I barely graduated college because once again I couldn't couldn't remember when my classes were. I just missed classes, not because I was trying to. I just couldn't get organized in my head, and because my head was always bouncing all over the place. And then in grad school, I got very lucky. I graduated in the top 10 of my class.
Whoa.
And because there were 11 of us, and this one kid did worse than me, so I know I was in the top 10.
Oh my God,
And,
that's amazing.
And but it was I don't spend a lot. I spend time with helping kids who can't afford. We have a scholarship program where we take kids who are at risk of dropping out of school because they can't afford to finish college, and we pay for them. We pay for them to finish school, but there's strings attached that we want them to go work in public service for an NGO for something that helps people afterwards. If we're going to help them, we want them to help others.
Awesome.
And the goal is to pay for it, get 1,000 kids into this program, and for those kids to go out and help 1,000 people, and that means we will have touched 1 million people.
Wow.
And it's working. I mean, these kids have done. I just got a note the other day from one of them who's helping to run in a low income area. She's working with school children and helping them with tutoring and education, and all the things that we want people to do is to help people. And we have kids all around the world, everywhere from drinking wells to building elementary schools in rural countries to everything you could think of. And that's the idea, is that they're helping people.
So Jay, I take my sleep very seriously. You know that.
I know this.
Yes.
This is true. You don't mess with Chelsea's sleep.
And here's the thing is that I'm a birth doula. So it's actually kind of funny because
You don't get much sleep anyway.
I don't get any sleep. It's really kind of crazy. The game changer for me for getting back into a really good sleep cycle has been CBD oil, for sure.
Down with CBD?
So Jay did some due diligence and found a absolutely well-known, actually, right? And
very
phenomenal
well-known
brand.
company that decided to actually partner with us, which we're excited about.
Super excited. And
Charlotte's Web.
What a better fit for our first full-time affiliate, right? Like full on.
We're both stoked. We've been using CBD for, I don't know, like half a year or a year?
Probably coming up to a year, yeah. But it actually gets me like really back into the exact flow of sleep that I need.
And I use it to not be such a stressful husband. As you can tell, it does actually help, though. I have a lot of everyday stress from work and from being a dad, and I find that it does kind of take the edge off.
Yeah, so we've got some links and some codes for you guys.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in checking out Charlotte's Web CBD, you can go to jalders.com/CBD. That's going to get you 10% off everything except for the bulk and the original. And we have to say this, and I'm saying this in italics, that everything we've said has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. And none of this is intended to diagnose, treat, or cure, or prevent any diseases. So we are not doctors. We don't play them on the podcast. Once again, that's jalders.com/CBD. Don't forget to use code ALDERS for 10% off. That's spelled ALDERS.
So after the tech chapter, you moved into Broadway. So had you always been into that? It didn't sound like Broadway was like a big part of your history. So where did that come from that you wanted to invest in that side of things?
It was done as, I'm not even a Broadway guy.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of going to shows. My wife is, but
okay.
It started as what do you call it? My friend of mine wanted to do a Broadway show, and I said, I hate Broadway, and he's like, I want you to do it. And I said, I'll do it on 2 conditions. 1, I make money, and 2, I win a Tony Award. He said, done deal. And
no pressure.
Yeah. So it was very funny, and I was like, all right, I'm in. And our first show was Jersey Boys.
Oh my God!
Well, you did it.
And
Score.
I won a Tony. We won a Tony. I got a platinum record out of it. It was pretty cool. So then he wants to do it again. And I'm like, he wants to do a play this time. I'm like, I don't know. We're doing okay. And so he bullied me into it. And our play was August, Osage County, which won a Pulitzer Prize and a Tony.
Yeah, we didn't get to see it, but I heard all the reviews on that was apparently
And we made
phenomenal.
movies out of both of them. And then I was hooked. And so I keep doing shows. And I think I'm doing it just to collect awards. That's not bad either. We make money at it, but it's fun.
So how often do you actually get up to New York to do these things? Or do you just, from afar, you're an investor and you just stay?
From afar. I don't participate in them very little unless they get into trouble. I pretty much keep out of it. I'm not an expert on Broadway.
Yeah.
I am just an investor, but it's cool.
Yeah, that's a really cool.
It looks good on the resume, you know?
Yes, it does. Well, it's funny because that's like the top thing that comes up for you now. It's like the Tony Award. So you were smart to say that's what you wanted out of the deal.
Yeah, I got nominated for another one. So the other day, so it's not so bad.
For which thing? For School of Rock?
Beetlejuice.
Oh, Beetlejuice. That's awesome.
I want to learn more about your mindset a little bit. So there's like that old adage, like the carrot and the stick, and in looking through everything you're putting out into the world and talking to now, like you make it very clear, like you want to make the world a better place. And I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but that's your carrot. What if anything is the stick that might be a running theme through your life that you're just running from? Like what's pushing you towards that carrot?
I don't know. I just feel that, it's I listen to everybody in the world complaining and nobody in the world doing.
Yeah.
And and it's funny because my kids at the dinner table have heard this for years. I said, you only have the right to complain around the table if you should show me something that you're doing. If you're doing, then you can complain. If you're not doing, you can't complain. And so it motivated them to start doing stuff. And but I'm a big believer that there are those who complain and there are those who actually do and fix a problem. And protesting is not a way to fix something. There are lots of ways to actually fix things. To stand around marching and protesting, that doesn't solve a problem. That's just yelling and screaming. But there are lots of problems out there that can be fixed if people put their time to it. Imagine if every person on this who listens to your podcast did one nice thing a day, just one. Imagine how many people would be happy.
You hear that, guys? Let's do it. I love it.
I challenged people for my birthday was my 45th birthday. I challenged my friends to do good deeds and to help push it. I said, for my birthday, I want you each to do one good deed and tell me about it. And over 1,000 people did good deeds. And we saved all of them. And some of them are amazing. Like one of them was in India and went to an orphanage and bought food for the orphanage.
Oh my God!
And I showed pictures of all the food. And one did, they all did really amazing. The ones that didn't have money did volunteer things. They helped clean up a park. They helped a little lady across the street. But they all documented it to show me that they actually did something. And but it showed people that it's okay to be nice.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for people to be unhappy with each other.
And then what comes from that too, because it's kind of like you do one good deed and then you start to see good things happening around you repeatedly, right? Like it just kind of snowballs. It's a nice effect.
No good deed goes unpunished. Trust me.
Okay.
We took in it was a hurricane here a year and a half ago and almost 2 years ago, and 2 of the shelters here lost power, and we took in 70 some odd homeless kids that were stuck there, and about 30 adults, and it was the right thing to do. We fed these kids hadn't been showered. They aged 2 to 17. They hadn't been showered. They hadn't gotten a real meal in 5 days.
Yeah,
hadn't changed their clothes in 5 days. It was disgusting.
Yeah,
and we bathed them, fed them, did their laundry. We served 800 meals in 72 hours. And a credit to my friends, I posted on Facebook, I need help. And 150 people came over 3 days to help these kids. And even so, people wrote letters. Well, I'm not a certified foster home. How do I have kids in my house if I'm not, a state entity?
Oh my
gosh! Just doing the right thing. They were sitting in a parking lot. Where were you?
Yeah, I know people can't help it. See, that is the weird thing about the internet world, is because people can just hide and say what they want, and they don't get punished for it.
No repercussions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I want to talk a little bit about what you think of our current gaming world, because I feel like it has evolved rapidly since where you've been, in the very beginning. So are you still involved in it at all, or do you watch from afar? What do you think of this crazy world going on right now?
Well, we are a diehard Call of Duty family here.
Oh, okay.
So we actually have a whole room dedicated for COD.
Oh my God.
And
wow.
So we're definitely, other than playing old school games like every Civilization game and all the turn-based multiplayer games.
Yeah.
We love that, but Call of Duty is probably religion around here.
Okay.
It always has been for years since it came out. We all play Call of Duty, and and it's fun. We do that, and then we decided once. I live in Florida, so we went out and we decided to buy all the real guns from the game.
Oh my
God! That would be kind of fun. So everyone here grew up, knowing how to shoot, and but it was I think we own literally almost every gun that's a real gun from the game.
Oh my God!
And it's a fun hobby.
It's such an interesting thing because we have, my brother and sister-in-law live out in LA, and like their understanding of the world of video games and like this live player thing where everyone's involved and everyone's participating, and then people are making money off of that, and like all of that whole market and world. That's when I feel old, because I'm like, I don't even understand what you're talking about. Like, it's such a funny thing going on with the video game world these days.
Yeah, this esports thing is amazing. Listen, Korea has had for years, StarCraft was a massive esports game for ages in Korea. Korea's been on the forefront of this for years. It's only just starting to come to the States.
Yeah. And
people are still trying to figure it out. But it's amazing. Our kids are teams, and people do this for a living. And I remember meeting someone about a decade ago, and she was telling me that she's a professional gamer. It's the first time I ever met somebody. I'm like, you really get paid for this?
Yeah.
And she's like, I paid $200,000 a year for this. I'm like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I got college. My kids are in college. They just become gamers.
I know.
But it's a profession, and people love to watch it, and people love to watch the replays, the videos, and it's at least it's better than just looking at your phone and texting, because they get to communicate with other people one way or the other. So it's a step up.
It's true, and it's hard to argue now with kids who are really getting into it, because you're like, wow, you actually could make a living doing this. So like, it's no longer just the kid, playing Duck Hunt and Mario Brothers that just looks like a zombie. Like, you're actually falling into a world that could be a career.
It improves cognitive function, and your reflexes are
so fascinating.
It's wild.
Well, we encouraged our kids early on to do Minecraft.
Okay.
That was a game in the house when they were little. And Minecraft, have you guys played Minecraft?
No.
It's a spectacular learning tool where you learn how to build objects. You can build a house, you can build a town, you can build whatever you want. And it creates kids to think, how to problem solve, how to build something. And as far as cognitive ability, it was really great. The same reason we used to love also turn-based strategy games, where we started with checkers and chess and that thing. We wanted the kids to learn to play chess. But there's lots of great, strategy games out there that, they're having fun and then don't know they're learning, because they're learning how to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And every time they lose, they go back again to figure out how they could win, and they don't know how, and they learn how to solve a problem. And so we used to love it when people played those.
Yeah, mine was I used to love the SimCity days. I used to do that with my dad.
Love SimCity.
Yeah.
Love SimCity. It is the best.
Yeah, I still
have it on my computer.
Do you?
I have the latest version, but it is not enjoying my new Windows 7 Pro very much. But and I still have it on my computer.
Oh, that's awesome.
And our Origin, I don't think is updating it anymore. I think they've washed their hands of it already.
I bet. Yeah.
It almost feels like the way you have approached business is almost like looking through a video game, where you're like, get to one level and you're like, okay, I just cleared this level, now go to this next level. And do you ever look at it like that, where you're just kind of unlocking new levels of Marc's life?
No, never thought of that.
Okay. Well, you can use it for your book.
If that were the case, my Castle and Stronghold Crusader would have been burnt down many years ago.
Okay.
So you're bringing that topic up. I want to talk about, so you started so young. And so what happens when you're, in your 20s, and then you see your first, like you saw everything burn to the ground, and then how do you go through that and move into the next chapter? Like, do you just think that's part of you, that you were like, oh, things fail, move on? Or did you have chapters that you were like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this one?
I was very lucky that I got to achieve my dream as a child, which is build data centers.
Yeah.
So the depressing part was having achieved, once I retired for the first time, I found I had no purpose, because everything I had worked for now for 20 years I had accomplished.
Yeah.
Which was to build data centers, and I'd done it in a spectacular way. And finding a next thing was hard. As far as Globix goes, I had already left Globix prior to 9/11, and it was enormously upsetting to watch what happened.
Right.
For many reasons. We knew a lot of people who were in the trade centers. Our facilities were done at World Trade. It was a very emotional, very upsetting time, and it's something that you just don't forget.
Right.
Unless you're that politician who seems to forget everything. Omar, whatever her name is. But we are, you learn from your failures, not from your successes. Someone once told me, and your successes make you stronger. And you're supposed to keep your success. Your success is very public, and your failure is very private. I've heard all these great expressions. But the reality is, listen. Not every day is a perfect day, and some days you gotta pick yourself up and try again. And as long as you don't stop, you can't just give up. Giving up's not an option.
So, do you have any great stories of favorite failures?
Oh my goodness, God, it's such a long list.
Oh, really? I'm like shocked to hear that. Like looking through your resume, I'm like, okay, nailed it.
So, failure number one, I was convinced, and I am not a Bob Dylan fan to begin with, but everybody else seems to be. So we decided we're going to do a Broadway show with Bob Dylan, and we did what was called Times They Are Changing. Times They Are Changing was the biggest loser in Broadway history, closed in 21 days and lost $12 million in 21 days.
Oh, you still won an award,
I only
loser.
thanked the guys who did Spider-Man, because if it wasn't for them, I'd still be the biggest loser on Broadway. So, so that was a spectacular crash and burn, ugly. Ugly.
Like ugly in an emotional sense, or like was the financial impact like really painful at that point in your life, or was it more just like an ego bruise?
No, he didn't even show up to the freaking opening.
Oh my God!
Are you serious?
It was so bad he didn't even show up.
So was that just?
He didn't even show up to the opening. Granted, he was smarter than me, because I would have shown up either if I knew how bad it was going to be.
So what do you do when he doesn't show up? Does he have a stand-in? Like, what did they do? Did they just shut it down?
Nothing. He just nothing. It's just you've tried to find a filler for his seat. Yeah. You find an usher who wants to sit in a seat. Don't tell him it's a seat.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Okay, so that's a really good one. I mean,
that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a really good failure. That was your first one that you did, or no? Jersey Boys was first, and then you did that after.
What?
Was that the first show that you tried to do on Broadway, or Jersey Boys was first?
No, Jersey Boys was the first.
Okay, so you'd already had a success.
This is years later.
Okay, got it. So funny.
Are there any other ones that stand out that really like hit you?
Head Over Heels, which we just did, was a spectacular show that the New York Times, we put the first transgender on Broadway. And we thought we were trying to make a statement that, anybody should be included. And the New York Times didn't agree with that idea. And they trashed it. It was a great show. The Go-Go's, music was from the Go-Go's. It was fun. It was entertaining. But the New York Times wasn't ready to have a transgender on Broadway, which I think was immensely wrong of them.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
And even though they wrote a letter of apology on their website for what they wrote, it was wrong. Yeah. And, they can't, we're all equal. Remember what I said earlier.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So with your career right now, Mark, is it the more charitable side that is taking over a lot of your work, or what is your primary focus right now?
No, my primary focus is aerospace.
Oh.
I started 7.5 years ago a company called Terran Orbital, and we build nanosatellites.
Whoa.
And I'm having an amazing time doing it. And we're launching our first spinoff now that will be that'll own a constellation of satellites, 44 of them. And it's exciting. It's a lot of fun. We're building stuff all over again.
Yeah, that's awesome. So talk about where that started. Like, what was the original, this is where we're starting with this?
It started, I was out in LA at the Milken conference about 8 years ago. I had this idea that I was watching people talk about imaging satellites, and I had this idea that I wanted to create something called the ultimate selfie. I would go to my cell phone, take a picture of me. A satellite in orbit would use my GPS coordinates to find me, take a picture of me standing on the ground or at a football game or baseball game,
That's cool.
and then text me the picture.
Okay.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I met Elon Musk, and I went out to see his facility, and he was showing me how we could launch something as large as a school bus into outer space. And I was like, why is anybody building anything as large as a school bus anymore when your iPhone is more computing power than the space shuttle? And there's no reason to build big objects anymore.
Yeah. And
it's been a very so I went ahead and found the guys who invented the CubeSat, bought their company, and went out and started commercializing an educational thing called CubeSat, and now we build lots of crazy fun satellites.
So is meeting and hanging out with Elon Musk, is that something that has any like if I met him, I'd be so completely over the top excited, but for you is just like, just Elon, no big deal. Like, what is that like being in your shoes?
I didn't. He's a very, very smart guy.
I've heard,
but it's just not. Everybody has everyone. But that being said, it doesn't really. I don't get like, oh my God, wow.
Right.
I mean, he's a nice guy. Lots of nice guys out there. Like I said, we're all the same.
Sure.
I've never been a guy to chase stars or chase famous people, and I meet famous people all the time, and half the time I have no idea who they are or if they're famous.
Right, sure.
And it was very, very funny. I had a party once, and Usher shows up, and I had a little bit to drink, and someone goes up to me and says, "Oh, Usher wants to meet you." I said, "Why do we have an Usher?" And I never heard of the guy. So I go, "No, Usher wants to meet you." I go, "I hear you. We don't need an Usher. It's a friggin' party. Just tell him to go home. We're fine." And he's like, "No." And they're going back and forth with someone who works with me. And it was ridiculous.
It's like an Abbott and Costello.
I yelled. Yeah. I yelled to her. And I said, "Get rid of the fucking Usher." Oh, can I say that on your podcast?
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah, we're explicit.
Okay. I just said, get rid of the Usher. So I turn around, and there he is standing behind me, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Usher." And I go, "Hi, I'm Mark." And the woman told me he's very, very, very famous. And I go, "All right, I got a question for you." He goes, "What? Before today, did you know who I was?" He goes, "No." Okay, we're even.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
and we had a good laugh about it.
That's awesome.
But no, I don't. I don't get. And I'm so clueless half the time. I was standing in West Hollywood. I was at the Mondrian Hotel at West Hollywood, and years and years ago, and I was having drinks for people for work, and there's a woman walking through the lobby, through the restaurant. I said, "I'll be right back." I go up to her, I give her a big kiss. "Hello, how are you?" We talk for 2 minutes. "How you doing?" "Great." She leaves, and my 3 guys I'm working with, they look at me like, "How do you know her?" I'm like, "I don't know, from somewhere. I have no idea." And the second one goes, "How do you know Jennifer Gardner?" I go, "That was Jennifer Gardner?" I had no idea. I'm like, "I guess I know her from my TV." But what was even funnier is she pretended she knew me.
That's awesome.
The whole thing was pretty funny.
Well, because they're probably so used to that, like just the pretending, like, "Oh yeah, sure, hi,"
Hey,
everyone.
It was very warm. It was very nice.
Yeah.
I was like, "How about that?" Who knew?
Speaking of how not knowing you knew people and where people met and whatnot, do you remember how we first connected?
Oh God, I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday.
That's okay. I was just curious. So this is like an interesting story because I think I was trying to figure out the exact year. I'm going to say it was probably between 15 and 20 years ago, maybe at this point. Someone in your family, one of your kids had a party, and you hired a caricature artist to come, and that was me. And I think it was in Connecticut. Does that sound right?
Holy cow!
So I'm at your house.
You came. Which house?
So that was me. I think it was Connecticut. Does that sound right?
We used to have a farm up in Connecticut.
You're like, who can keep track of my houses?
Yeah.
So I was doing caricatures at the time. I'm an artist, and I got hired for this gig, and it was like in Connecticut, and the party planner that hired me, I'm like, I don't want to freaking drive to Connecticut.
Oh yes, I know. Okay, so you're gonna laugh.
Okay.
I have your picture.
Oh my God, no way.
I have every caricature ever taken of me, and everybody sitting in a hallway in the house.
Oh my God, no way.
Everyone we've ever that we've still have it, but it has to be because they're all from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you see Jay Alders in the corner, send us a picture. We'll post it with the podcast. I love it.
I would walk up there if my headset would work.
So I got hired for this job, and I reluctantly took it because I'm in Jersey, and I was like, I don't want to freaking drive 3 hours to Connecticut. And I got there, and the house was like enormous. I'm like, what is going on here? And I tried to find the front entrance, and then once I got in there, as you were very cordial and kind and very accommodating. Got me food and a drink, which almost never happens when you're like the hired help in the position that I was in. So just immediately I was like, wow, you acknowledged I'm a human. That's very amazing. And then I remember I was sat next to one of the rooms, and on the wall next to me, I want to say it was like a lithograph or something. I believe it was Dali or Escher. I forgot which. Escher, yeah. And I remember like drawing people, and then every like second looking up, I'm like, I'm freaking sitting next to an Escher. This is fucking awesome.
It was MC Escher's Ascending and Descending.
Yes. And I remember on my like trip to the bathroom, I was like looking around for other art, and I was just super impressed by your collection and how kind you guys were. And then afterwards, this is again like probably 20 years ago, like very casually, we kept in touch. I think through email, or you asked for my number or something, anyway, long story short, here we are now. And I was just curious if you remembered any of that, because it was a wild.
It was like a lifetime ago, but yeah. So many of you may have seen on my social media that I took the plunge and became a beauty counter consultant last month. As a doula, I have prioritized health and wellness for my clients and their families, and this brand is a really natural fit for us. After learning more about our current industry standards and basically feeling nauseated over what other brands are allowed to put in their products, and especially the products we put on our skin, I went through a house-wide purge based on Beauty Counter's famous Never List, which includes 1,500 chemicals they will never use in their products that are still being used in many other skincare products in the U.S. For the month of June, I'm currently offering a free 3-ounce sunscreen mist with any purchase over $150. That's a $20 value. Check out their Father's Day specials as well on beautycounter.com/Chelsea Alders. Oh my gosh. And then so with the philanthropy stuff, Mark, like what is your top thing that like you chose, like for you, like that you really, it's important to you?
Well, having these kids go out, that we pay the scholarships, we do a lot with foster kids. We believe think globally and locally is how we think of philanthropy.
Yeah.
We work a lot with foster kids. We work a lot with medical research. We do a lot with scholarships. And we've seen a lot of successes across all categories.
Yeah.
And, that makes me feel good.
So if we say the word inspirational, what people might come to mind?
Well, I think when I was a kid, it was my father. I was Barry Yampol, the guy who owned data centers. As an adult, I think the people who are selfless are great inspirations. The people who look at the shooting that happened, the school shooting that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
A kid went ahead and tried to stop him and got killed trying to save others. And that was, he was thinking about everybody else. And, people like that are heroes.
Yeah.
And granted, I never want to see another kid die again in a school shooting, and I don't want to see another school shooting at all. But, there are a lot of people in this world who do lots of things selflessly without thinking about others, and thinking more about others, not thinking about themselves. And there's a lot of people who've done a lot of great things around the world, but nobody cares about that. People usually care about the bad stuff, and that's the unfortunate part. Is the news channel always leads off with a murder or something bad, and never leads off with something somebody did that's good, and that's a statement on our own society.
Yeah, I know. Even with that, actually, the last couple school shootings have had like the kid that, fights back or whatever. And you have to dig for that, or that article comes out 3 days later, or, whatever.
Yeah, but in general, it's everything in life. People do great things all the time, and it's wonderful to see, and it's wonderful to watch. It's wonderful to hear about. And I wish people would just stop complaining and start doing.
I know. It reminds you, it's good reminders every day to just be like, what the hell do I have to complain about? Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we are about there. I have one last question. So we ask every guest on here. And it's funny because I feel like a lot of our guests have been from Brooklyn. It's like a funny commonality we have. But I like to ask everyone. So if I have to drop you back in your childhood kitchen back in Brooklyn, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
First thing that comes to mind when I think about Brooklyn, meeting my friend Toby.
Oh, okay.
Met her when I was. My parents told me we were 2 years old.
No way.
And we still talk to each other almost every week.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's nice to have friends like that.
Mark, have you gotten better at celebrating your successes? You mentioned earlier that like the first round of successes kind of went by almost like unnoticed. You just kept charging forward. Have you gotten better at that? Like taking a time out?
No.
No, not so much.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah, it's like I never seem to celebrate the successes, and I should, but I don't. I celebrate life every day. Is the way I look at it.
There you go.
And always having fun, always trying to, do good things, whether it's been, we try to do, a big charity event every month for somebody. We try to have fun. But, you live life every day. You should enjoy it to the fullest. Be good to your family, be good to your friends, be honest, never lie. Look yourself in the mirror at night and say, wow, I like who you are, and call it a day.
Awesome.
So good. Thank you, Mark. This has been
amazing. Thank you so much,
amazing.
Mark. You crushed it. That was awesome.
Okay. Well, sorry this took so long to set up. I apologize.
No, we loved it. It was great. You're such a fascinating dude.
Thank you. This was really great.
Oh, I'm not that fascinating. Trust me. I'm a boring, middle-aged, overweight Jew.
I don't know about that.
Hey, where in Brooklyn are you from? Like what part?
I grew up in Midwood. I grew up in East Midwood. I went to yeshiva in Midwood.
Okay.
And only because my parents felt if I went to the public school, I would have the shit beat out of me. So instead, I went to yeshiva where I had the shit beat out of me. So it really didn't make a difference where I had the shit beat out of me at the end of the day. I guess I got a better shit beating in the yeshiva than I did in the public school. But you never know. I don't want, and I didn't really want to find out because
Yeah, if it gets worse than that, like what the hell? Yeah. Jake, where are your parents from?
My parents always. My father always told me never hit back.
Oh,
never
great.
hit somebody. Never strike back.
Wow. My dad definitely told me the opposite. My dad was from East 45th and Church. My mom was from Flatbush, but they left in 71, maybe 72. So they left when it got a little.
My dad got that one wrong.
Yeah.
I just taught my kids how to shoot a Glock 17, and they're fine.
Oh my
God. they've never got into a fight, so they're good.
Yeah, that works.
Oh my God! Well, we so appreciate your time. I know that it's valuable, Mark. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
my pleasure. Let me know when this airs or whatever, so I can give you a link and a shout out.
Totally will. Thanks, Mark. Have an awesome day.
Thank you too. Bye bye.
All right, bye. So, Marc Bell.
Guys, I just have to take a pause because it's really hard to talk right now because I definitely broke my tailbone.
I feel so bad for you.
Do you?
Yeah, of course I do. Why would you ask that? Do you think I don't feel bad for you?
I don't know. This sucks.
It is kind of weird that we used to have tails.
Yeah, like what the fuck is that bone there for anyway?
Like you were just telling me yesterday that, what were you saying about tailbones being like one of the only bones that could like...
Flexy. Ow.
Is that true?
Yeah, well, it's made in like joint. It's a joint.
I think your spine does a little flex thing.
Well, it does. It's like it's the end of your spine, but it's not. It doesn't have a beginning and an end. It's like out, like a tail.
Just picturing you like wiggling it.
Yeah, that's what it feels like right now.
It is weird. You can't like cast it at all.
Is it though? I mean, what are they going to do?
You have a cute little butt like tail cast, and you can sign it.
Guys, I was playing Squish the Lemon, and Jay doesn't know what Squish the Lemon is.
What is Squish the Lemon?
It's so strange to me. It's my favorite game growing up.
That says a lot about you if that's your favorite game growing up.
I mean, it was the best. You pile like 15 kids on a slide until someone falls off.
That was your favorite game?
It was amazing.
This is like the South Jersey idea of like a game.
Anyone from South Jersey who played Squish the Lemon? I want to know if this is South Jersey or if this is just like a international, well-known game.
You know what we forgot to mention or talk to Mark about is...
Squish the Lemon?
Well, yes, we did. I totally forgot to ask him about Squish the Lemon. That, and also that he has like a replica of like the Starship Enterprise in his house.
Does he? That's right. That's what he's selling. Like, if anyone wants to buy it.
There's not much to talk about, I guess, with that, aside
like
from like,
it.
You have Star Trek in your house.
Did we touch whether he actually knew Steve Jobs or whether they were just around at the same time?
I don't think. No, I don't remember.
I feel like he mentioned
about that.
something that like Steve Jobs came into the office at one point.
He did mention how he like,
or was that Bill Gates? Someone came in.
Yeah.
into their program.
We should listen to the episode like again before we do our outros. We like talked to him a couple weeks ago, was it?
Yeah, it's in a couple weeks.
So anyway, he has this like Star Trek fascination. And
if you Google him, it's the first thing that comes up. So
yes,
if you do Marc Bell,
Google
Star
Mark,
Trek,
for sure.
and his house
just
comes
Google
up.
him anyway, and there's a lot of cool stuff and interesting things.
Yeah,
on
he has
his
a
site.
fascinating career path. But
anyway, so we've been connected like loosely. Obviously, he didn't really know who I was.
No, but how amazing is
met.
that he had your caricature on the wall still? It's so good.
But we've been connected on Facebook, and so I see his posts, and I guess it was like a year or two ago, he had posted a picture that he actually owns the actual Spock pointed Vulcan ears. And like between...
When people say that though, like I'm like, how many of those are... Like you have the ones, but there's
I'm
probably
sure maybe
like
there was
300
like,
pairs.
Several. He owns...
Isn't it funny that we just talked to
of...
Chet about making all that stuff, and then we have someone who's like a nerd on collecting it? Ow!
I guess that's just what you do when you have that much money. You buy Star Trek ears and get your... But I would like that's kind of cool.
When we have that much money, we're not buying.
I would love
one Star Trek.
No, but I would love to just to have that much money that I'm like, I want to make this room into whatever it might be.
Yeah,
like that's just like next level money.
You would just be like, can you create a replica of John Lennon's house?
No, I would like a room or two that's like an indoor skate park.
Okay.
Why? Well, also with climbing walls.
Oh, that's cool. You're getting your own house. You're going to be moving out.
But you could have your own house and put your dog in it.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's fair.
Yeah. I almost bought a dog today.
I would have killed you.
I know you would.
It could have ended up in divorce
papers.
She
was so cute. She was so cute.
I'm sure.
The kids wanted it too.
I love animals. I just don't want a dog anymore. I love them.
Then I thought about what our house looks like with toys on the ground right now.
Right?
And I was like...
And like poop all over the yard and like scratched up like windows.
I'm going to get a dog that poops in 1 3-foot square location.
And how's that going to work?
I'm going to train it.
You're going to... Yeah, I've seen how that works. Now we're going to then you have these other dreams.
I had toddlers when I had to train.
No, then you have these other dreams that you talk about. You're like, oh, we're going to go travel and stay here, blah, 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 and do all these wonderful...
For 3 months.
We're going to travel to
Dogs
whatever.
Can fly now.
Yeah, we're just going to put a dog on a plane and travel for 3 months. Totally logical with your other dreams.
LB does it. Come on.
When you have Marc Bell money, then you can get a
I'll just
dog
have my
in a separate
jet
house
and my dog.
I'll visit you.
Okay.
We'll have our bridge.
Sorry, guys. My butt hurts so bad.
Oh my God. Summer vacation has been really weird so far.
It's been raining. This is not summer vacation.
Well,
I feel gypped.
Not the weather. I love the weather. I love when it's kind of like hot and then you get a break from it. I can't stand when it's just super hot all the time.
I've just been out of breath for every nice summer day so far.
That's contributing to the stress too.
Yeah,
you just vanish and go watch babies be born.
Just watch them. I just sit there.
Hang out. Yes, good job, lady.
Take naps.
Way to go.
I get like delivery and just...
This book has been stressing me out.
Yeah. You just need to dig in and get it done. You have a couple days
I just
left.
got the, like, not a final draft, but a closer to final draft from my editor, and holy fuck balls, it's just really hard.
Yeah.
I feel like writing this book has been harder than any painting I've done.
But you love
any
it
business
still,
I've
right?
started.
Still love the book?
Yeah, I love the book. It's just like getting it structured how I want it to and getting it like ready to go is just really hard. I think it's going to be worth it. I really do love it. I was reading it over before, and it's really great. Like, I'm proud of myself. But
guys, you just have to know the backstory to this, that I have not read this book in like 2 years. So for me, it's actually just like, it might not even be real. He might be making this entire thing up. I don't know. I don't know what he's been doing. No idea. He just locks himself in a room for hours at a time.
Yeah.
He could be playing video games.
No, that's not true. That's one thing you know for sure. I don't.
Could be staring at the ceiling for all
my
I
days
know.
of playing Tony Hawk for hours and hours is long. Long gone.
None of that. None of it.
Anyway, Marc Bell. So, how cool was it? I don't know where I'm going with that sense. I think it's really cool that my former life as a caricature artist led me to meeting this entrepreneurial legend and philanthropy person. Philanthropist. There you go.
That was a fairly easy one.
But just, just how cool how things line up like that. And to now have the podcast and share his crazy story. But definitely Google him. There's a lot of stuff we didn't chat about that is just like very, very interesting. And we hope you got some little bits of info and inspiration from this. Chelsea and I were talking earlier about how the importance of being able to kind of celebrate your victories, which Mark clearly is not able to do yet, which he admits, and I feel bad for him. I feel like if I had half of that type of success, I would want to just sit under I don't know, a cabana somewhere and still work, but not work my butt off. And
I don't feel bad for him. I think he's enjoying what he does. I just think he celebrates his
want
success
him to be able
with
to,
more success.
Right.
That's what he does.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
I just feel like, I don't know, I guess just there's a side of me that just wants people to be like, wow, I did it. That's great. Let me celebrate.
Yeah. I hope you guys love this one. I hope you jumped past, if you were struggling with the techie stuff in the beginning, you'll notice I didn't participate either for the first
Sinclair talk.
30 minutes.
That is good stuff.
I was totally lost. And then we jumped into like modern, normal human conversation for a little while. So it was good.
Yeah.
But
sorry for the delay too. We are very late on delivering our podcast. Chelsea had 2 or 3 births.
Yeah.
I've been writing a book. The kids have been doing lots of stuff.
Local people, June 30th, I'm having a giant launch party for our foundation that is going to be raising money for postpartum care for women struggling in their 4th trimester. So keep an eye on
And where can we find out information on that, Chelsea?
That will be on rootsandwingspostpartum.com or on omamasdoulas.com.
When's my event? I have an event going on in Asbury.
It's July 21st, the Sunday of that weekend, whichever day that is.
The 21st.
We'll let you know where the booth is.
Going to be displaying art in Asbury Park for those of you that are local.
Asbury Park Bazaar.
Yeah, what else? I'll probably mention this at the intro, so you might have heard this already. But I have a Kickstarter that I'm planning to come out in the next few weeks or month, so stay tuned. And on that note, thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys hopefully next week, unless we delay it, and then it'll be in a week and a half.
Thanks, guys. We hope you loved that episode. If you did love it and could give us some love on iTunes, that would be amazing. You can leave a review, and we will give you a shout out at some point on this podcast.
Also, if you guys can follow us on social media, we would love to hear from you. We are on pretty much every social media platform at Shifting Perceptions Podcast, which is the same as our website, shiftingperceptionspodcast.com. We look and reply to all comments, so please share with your friends, tag us. We appreciate all the love.
And don't forget that all of our guests also see all these comments, so I'm sure if you want to just have a space you can reach out, these are the places to do it. We also want to give some love to our amazing photographer that has done all of our photos so far,
Kevin Rigby.
His website is wavelightstudio.com.
And also our really good friend John Harvey, who did the music for our podcast. You can find him at Instagram at Harvey Wallbanger. So that's our little rolling credits. We will be back next week.